Welcome to the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. I'm Sean Aylmer. The local share market has been travelling pretty well this year, with predictions that Australian shares could well outperform other markets for the rest of the year. So what are investors trading so far? Have any of the trends from 2022 continued into 23? Remember, this is general information only. You should seek professional advice before making any investment decisions. Cath Whitaker is the Chief Executive of ASX-listed trading platform Selfwealth. Cath, welcome back to Fear and Greed.
Thank you again for having me, Sean. Great to be here.
Okay, we had a quick chat before we came on. It is quite incredible what people are buying. Now, just firstly, when we're talking about people here, we're talking about retail investors. Is that correct?
We are. So our platform is 95% retail investors. And look, the numbers are in, Sean. There's no disputing the trend that has happened in January. And in a headline, spoiler alert, it's all about lithium and coal.
Wow, amazing. And this is, well, let's go to lithium first. So the number one is Pilbara Minerals.
Yes.
What other ones are in the top 10?
Sure, we've got some core lithium. We have Lake Resources. We have Liontown. And it's all about, we know Australia supplies 50% of global lithium across the world. Folks see, what is happening still in the EV space. We'll get on to Tesla maybe a little bit further on. But, there's obviously a ongoing demand for lithium. And so people are well and truly investing into these specific stocks, anticipating a great return.
Okay, so lithium's hot. You also mentioned coal companies a moment ago, notwithstanding the price of coal has come off big time, but it was very high until just a few weeks ago. Whitehaven Coal, once again, a popular stock?
That certainly is. And, we see it across our top 20 as well. There's more and more coal stocks that are coming into play. Yancoal actually building out our number 20 spot, which is a first-time entrant for us. Right. So, as you say, when you look at, energy performance, certainly across 2022, it really was the star performer from an ASX perspective. And, although the coal price has dropped off in recent times, folk are obviously anticipating it will come back. There is a need. And so again, looking for ways to get the most out of the investment dollars, people see coal as an excellent choice.
Okay. What about the large caps? So many of us would invest in large caps only because they're household names as much as anything. If you look at the top 10, and we're going to just park Tesla for a moment, we'll come back to that. So BHP, obviously Australia's biggest company, Fortescue Metals, and ANZ, but it's only 3 of the top 10 are actually very large caps.
That's exactly right. So, and we're looking at the traded numbers here. So rather than, what I'd say is stocks in terms of total value on the platform, of course,
so
the big caps, the Commonwealth, the Westpacs, et cetera, they're still ranked very highly in terms of total value of the platform. And look, on the Selfwealth platform, we're now getting very close to $9 billion worth of asset value on our platform. But as you say, in the month of January, it is those 3 stocks, BHP, ANZ, and, Tesla and Fortescue that have really rounded out the most traded values.
Okay, so, of course, we're trading here, so it's buying and selling. So we're, people are coming in and out of it. What about Tesla? Because that certainly came off the boil at one point last year, but it seems to be back.
It certainly is. And look, I think a certain share price jumping from $100 to $190 last time I looked certainly helps. And, it certainly has shot up, jumped up 9 spots on our ranking in terms of most traded stocks. And, I think, again, getting past all the hype and Elon Musk and the Twitterati.
Oh, Cath, you can't get past the hype of Elon Musk.
No, you cannot. You cannot. I think he does that extremely well. But, people still see, obviously, a growth market that is occurring there in terms of, EV. And they're still so dominant within that segment. And so people have rewarded that.
Why is it something like Tesla is so much bigger than, let's say, Apple, which is probably even a better known company and people use Apple all the time, or Apple products all the time? It just sort of interests me. I suppose it's buying and selling. I've got to keep reminding myself of that. It's not just buying. But it kind of like, I don't know, it's just like Tesla grabs the imagination more. Is it the future? What is it?
Yeah, I think it's very much about the future. So, the point around, all of the FANG stocks and look, by the way, we have seen in January much bigger inflows of investment happening into the FANGs and tech in general on the NASDAQ, as we do also offer US equities. But I think the story is that with Tesla, it is all about the future. And I think, when we've been looking certainly at our generational demographics that we see on the platform, we've seen some really interesting observations in terms of, what the Gen Zs are doing. Certainly, a much, much higher buy to sell ratios, for 20-something-year-old women. It's still at 80% buy to sell. Our cohort that actually has the highest buy to sell ratio is 18-year-old men at a whopping 88%.
But they've probably got nothing to sell though, Kath.
Yeah, they're probably still building, unless they've had a minor account on our platform. You're very true. But they're absolutely in the growth mode. And so, they are looking for those stocks, which, I'm sure they see as having a medium to long-term improvement.
Stay with me, Kath. We'll be back in a minute. My guest this morning is Cath Whitaker, Chief Executive of ASX-listed trading platform Selfwealth. Are there stock, and let's use Pilbara Minerals, it's the top traded stock. Is that focused on a demographic, 18, 20-year-old women, or is it broadly, to be number one, you have to be fairly broadly based, I'd imagine?
Absolutely. And look, Pilbara is unique from a direct equities perspective, given that we saw it was the most traded stock across all of the 4 demographics that we use. The only other type of asset that can claim that same prize remains as Vanguard AS. So from an ETF perspective, it too is popular across all 4 demographics, filling out that number 1 position. But yeah, quite unique in everyone seeing combined value associated with it.
The survey does actually show sort of, I don't know, there are quite anomalies, but interesting. So NEU, which I've got to say I had to look up to see what NEU is, and it's Neuron Pharmaceuticals, seems to have been sold a lot by baby boomers. Now, maybe baby boomers are more interested in pharma companies, but Neuron Pharmaceuticals is not a big company.
No, and look, it has been a real darling of the Selfwealth cohort, and it is a terrific story to be told, Neuron Pharmaceuticals, in terms of, not only the obvious in terms of doubling of share price, in the last year or so, but, what it's doing in terms of research and the inroads that it's made certainly into the US. And I think, those gains that have been made on that stock, whilst, who knows what may happen next with the share price, but I think certainly a cohort of people have been bought in quite early, realised the gains and, maybe reassessing their position.
How does buy now, pay later stocks, how do they rank? We saw OpenPay recently collapsed, and then Zipco, I think, is in one of the top traded stocks. But where do they sit? Because I think from memory previously, they were fairly highly traded companies.
They absolutely were. And look, looking at 2021, and then when you compared against 22, that was by far and large the most significant change is, where are the buy now, pay later stocks? And Zip, had a bit of a flurry, I would describe it, in January, as I think, there were some indications in terms of, profitability being visible in the US and people seeing it as opportunistic in terms of, well, perhaps there is a path here. However, I think, who's to say what might happen in February, but it's very much a watch this space with that particular one. And as you quite rightly point out, with OpenPay, unfortunate situation that, that whole segment is obviously under a review at the moment. And so, time will tell in terms of, where people see value or not.
What about ETFs? Who are interested in ETFs mostly?
Yeah. So again, we see Quite a lot of interest in ETFs across all of the demographics, certainly more geared toward the Gen Zs and the millennials. We see, very dominant position by Vanguard in terms of, their exposures internationally as well as in Australia. But I think what's interesting in the January month is, we did see more of a sell than what we've seen in previous months with ETFs. And I, looking at the younger demographic, I really do suspect that it's a case of, the credit card bill always comes in on the 20th of January.
Yep.
And perhaps, people just needing to free a little bit more cash than normal. So, again, very keen to watch that. But, I think in general with ETFs, there's also been quite recent media focus on, is it the darlings that, it's been made out to be? And I think probably a lot more recognition in terms of fees associated with ETFs. So, could well be a case of people are reassessing as a bundled product and perhaps looking to go on a more direct equities path.
Cath Whitaker from Selfwealth. Before I let you go, there's a couple of little quirks here which I think are really fascinating. You've got nearly 130,000 active members, and 70-year-old men are the most active.
They are indeed. They have been trading through particularly the second half of 2022. I think, the white water out there has certainly benefited that demographic. And look, they're being opportunistic.
The other one is Western Australian women.
Yes.
Are a sophisticated demographic that are trading the most.
They are. So out of all of when you look at male, female and statewide demographics, absolutely, they are the cohort that is trading the most. And I love a bit of state rivalry. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah, absolutely. Where are you from, Cath?
The greatest state, which of course is Queensland.
See, parochialism is really at its finest in Queensland, I've got to say.
God's country, they say. So, yes.
Yes. Okay, well, but Western Australian women at least have it over Queensland men and women and the rest of the country, in fact, at least in terms of trading.
This time I have to give the trophy to them, but let's look for next month.
Fair enough. Fantastic. Cath, thank you for talking to Fear and Greed.
Thanks for having me.
That was Cath Whitaker, Chief Executive of ASX-listed trading platform Selfwealth. This is the Fear and Greed Daily Interview. Remember, this is general information only, and you should seek professional advice before making investment decisions. Join us every morning for the full episode of Fear and Greed, Australia's most popular business podcast. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.